Good morning. We are live. Thanks for joining. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for watching. It's another Super Galactic Saturday, and I'm Jerry Sr. without Jerry Jr. today. He will be here shortly. He's just running a little late. He had to run some errands. So as soon as he is available, he's going to join. So it's just going to be me for a while. I hope you don't mind. But thanks for joining today. Thanks for checking us out. We appreciate it. We always appreciate the support we get. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I hope you guys had a Merry Christmas. I hope your Christmas was enjoyable and fun. Um, yeah, and mine was pretty good. Spent time obviously with my son, with Jerry Jr. and his brother, and my wife, and a few other family members, and we hung out, and we actually went out to see a movie together, and then we went to have dinner. A wonderful place here in LA at the farmers market. It's a place called Dupar's. Uh, Delicious food and great service. So, and actually, we thought it might be a little crowded, but it wasn't. It was actually pretty nice. So it actually worked out to be a really nice time because we didn't have to sit and wait, stand in line and wait for forever. So that was nice. That was actually quite pleasant. So we had a great Christmas, very blessed, and I'm thankful to have been able to see another Christmas. So, that's always wonderful. And I'm thankful for that. So, but yeah, so it's just me today for now, and hopefully we'll be here soon. But yeah, I'll kick things off with some of the things we're going to be talking about. And one of them is, of course, recently, excuse me, the Sonic 3 movie released back on the 20th. And we all went to see it. We didn't see that on Christmas. We actually saw another movie called The Fire Within about a female boxer who made her way to the Olympics. She was from Flint, Michigan, and very poor neighborhood. And thanks to her coach, who basically believed in her and pushed her and trained her, actually taught her how to box from a very young age, and he was able to get her, train her into an Olympic quality boxer. And she was one of the first female boxers, and really the first boxers in the Olympics to actually win a gold medal. So it was actually a pretty cool movie. I had my issues with it, but I'm not going to review that movie now. I actually want to review that in a different video. So, because both me and Jerry Jr. watched it, so I want to get his input on top of that as well. But yeah, we had our opinions about it because it's an interesting movie. It's a very compelling story, though. It is. It's actually it's very cool. I mean, women's boxing isn't exactly you know one of the most popular sports, at least not in the mainstream. So like I don't really watch it. The last time I watched the female boxing was when Mike Tyson fought. Uh, back what a few months ago, I guess, right? And that was interesting. I mean, it was it's a wild fight. Like it was very bloody, very brutal. So you definitely know how to throw down. So it was an interesting fight, but I don't personally don't find it appealing. So I mean, boxing itself I like in a general sense, but I'm not a hardcore boxing fan anyway. I appreciate the sport. I respect the boxers that do it, male and female, and same with MMA. It's all cool stuff. Like it's pretty impressive and obviously incredible athleticism. So, but yeah, it was a it was an interesting movie, and yeah, we'll talk about that another time because there's a lot to be said about that movie, and it's kind of bittersweet. It you know just to give you a hint, it falls along the lines of some of the other content that Hollywood has put out, right? Where they do the old okey doke, and you think you're just getting a straight story about triumph, right, and overcoming the odds, and then they slip in a little bit of sort of political or social commentary, right? And you know, it's a little, it feels a little forced, a little ham-fisted. In this case, I give him credit. It wasn't as bad as we've seen with other movies and other properties, but it is there. And it's kind of frustrating sometimes because they tend to mischaracterize things in such a way. Um, they just leave out a lot of basic information that will give proper context to certain issues, right? So, but I'll leave it at that because I don't want to get into a whole other movie. It's not even it's not a comic book movie, and it's not a superhero movie. It's not a video game movie. It's just it's actually a sort of autobiographical film. But yeah, uh, but love hate for Robotech. Kind of wanted to talk about that. This is something that was brought up by Neon from Clownfish TV. I believe it was last week, and he posted a question on Twitter regarding sort of why is there such sort of hate for Robotech among a lot of fans and non-fans, right? Or at least among like anime fans. And you know, I would respectfully disagree. I don't think it's hate for Robotech itself. My opinion is, and being a fan of Robotech, I grew up watching it. I was in like sixth or seventh grade when it first aired. I would go to school, talk about it with my friends. We were all geeking out over it. We loved it, right? It was this thing that you've never seen before, and it was amazing. And I'm speaking specifically, that first season, right? Um, but and this is something something that isn't addressed necessarily, and that is in the West. There were a lot of fans that weren't necessarily anime fans, right? I wasn't an anime fan at that time. I wasn't even really aware of anime in proper, right, like what it is. I saw anime, right? I watched Voltron, right? I watched G Force, and of course Robotech and uh, Giant Robo. I remember I watched Johnny Sacco and his flying robot. Like I love that stuff. And Transor Z, which is Messenger Z, right? I watched all that stuff. I loved it. I didn't know it was anime, right? I just thought, hey, these are cool cartoons from some other country, I guess, right? That was my mindset. I didn't necessarily care where it came from or who made it. I just watched it and enjoyed it. I was entertained by it. And Robotech was no different. Like when I hit the scene, it was like, yo, this is awesome. Transforming jet planes, giant alien, people, super mega ship, you know, you know what I mean? Like all that stuff was like it just hit all the right notes, right? And for me as a kid, I was there. I was there for it. I was like, hey, I'm here, and not realizing, what was happening, that this stuff was adapted from original animes from Japan, and they were kind of spliced together, and the story had nothing to do with the original, all that kind of stuff. Like I didn't know anything about that until years later. I was probably high school, college is when I started to see and understand and read articles and talk to other people who were actual manga and anime fans and readers, and they were informing like, yeah, it's from this and that, and then thank God for Suncoast Video. I don't know if there's anybody that remembers that, at least here in Southern California. That was where a lot of people got introduced to anime proper, right? Because they sold a lot of the OVA anime, right? And so on VHS, and that's kind of where I started being exposed to more anime titles like Appleseed, right? And so that's where you started to see, oh, what is this Macross? Is that Robotech, right? Because the city in Robotech is called Macross, and right, and then you see Rick Hunter on the cover, and you're like, yeah, that looks like Rick Hunter, and so you start to realize, oh, there's some kind of correlation. Then you realize you start putting two and two together, and you start talking to people, and you realize, oh, they adapted it and all this kind of stuff. And then you hear about Carl Masek, and Harmony Gold and what they did, and it's like, oh, now I kind of see the big picture here, and that's where then after going to conventions and so once again you meet people, you talk to people, and so you realize, oh, like this was originally this, and like for me, it didn't change my perspective. I still really love Robotech. Like, I'm a big fan of it. I loved it. I even had I never had a Robotech like toy or anything. I wish I had, but I did not. We weren't in that place where we can afford a lot of toys. I did have some Transformers. That was the closest I got to Robotech, right? The little tiny Transformers and all that, and a couple of GoBots, right? And but yeah, it was interesting. It never made me like it less, and but it did make me explore those other anime, right? And I ended up watching a Macross 2. I rented it and then I ended up buying it, and because I really enjoyed it. And I watched Macross Plus and all, so I got exposed more to the original stories and all that stuff, and read about like Mos Pieta, the Genesis Pit, and all that. Genesis Climber, So it's like I'm aware and I can appreciate those titles for what they are, and enjoy them as separate entities, especially as preceding Robotech. But I still appreciate and enjoy Robotech, right? I still appreciate the story. So I think the hate, at least for me too, is as the years pass, you get older and you want to see more. You wish there was more. Even when I first, was exposed to Robotech as a kid and finished that first season, we got two more. And I admit I never cared as much for the second and third installments, right? Because they just didn't hit the same, right? They're still fun to watch. I still enjoy them. I enjoy, uh, you know, the cool mechs, right? I mean, that's really for me, as a young kid, a young boy, seeing those mechas and you know, like listen, a tank that turns into this giant robot, that's awesome, right? And then Masfieta, right? It's like uh, that first episode where Scott gets off his Alpha fighter. Even that was like, whoa, that's very different from the Veritex, right? Like, what? That's awesome looking, right? And then he pulls out this motorcycle and he starts riding, right? And that scene when the Invid attack Rand, I think he is, right? And he, does this wheelie and it transforms into this like body armor, right? That just blew my mind, right? I was like, this is amazing. So
Uh,
yeah, it's like I can appreciate it for that, and that definitely pulled me in. So I did watch all three in their first airing, right?
are you talking about
I
Robotech?
still love that first season, right? That first, the Macross saga, and I always wanted more of the Macross story because for me that resonated more. It was just so epic and so awesome, and I think, well, it was well produced, right, for what it was, and the story itself was pretty good. It was decent, and the character development, it made sense. It was intuitive. You were empathetic. So yeah, I wish, and I think that reflects the sentiment of a lot of fans in the West, at least, right, who like me were introduced to it in that manner. That we wanted more Rick Hunter and Lisa Hayes and Lin May and the the super dimensional fortress and more Veritech fighters, more Zendradi. We wanted that. We wanted to see Rick Hunter go out into space and lead this expedition, and right, and we kind of got that with Robotech too, but it fell flat, right, and they never finished it, right, they never continued it. I guess because it didn't do very well, or it wasn't very well received, or maybe they just couldn't get the funding. I don't know. But so it's things like that that makes kind of leaves a sour taste, you know, with a lot of Robotech fans, and then naturally, uh, true blue anime fans who understand what happened and understand the adaptations. Obviously, didn't appreciate that, right? Um, because you're telling virtually like completely different stories, you reusing footage, reusing animation cells, and and it's kind of it is. I can see how it could be a bit insulting, especially if you really are a diehard fan of the original Macross series or any of the other you know anime. So I can understand it, but I think more so than anything, because I think in time it was kind of forgiven, but the handling of the IP, where I believe the originals were kind of kept from being released in the West for some time. um, that's what really kind of ticks off a lot of fans, right?
Wait,
Even
so
myself, because like you do want to see the originals. You do want to see like what was it, like what was it about? Was it how similar is it? And like you want to kind of dive in and get more of that. And the fact that they prevented that because of legal issues and for trying to protect their IP, it's like you're protecting your IP, but at the same time you're not doing anything with it, right? It's frustrating, right? So
so
yeah, I think
real
that's kind
quick.
of where a lot of the hate comes from. I don't think most people necessarily hate the series itself, because they're not the first or the only, right? The Power Rangers were adapted in a similar form, and so is Voltron, right? Um, and even G-Force, which is actually Gotcha Man, right? Even that was adapted for the West, and I'm sure the story changed quite a bit. Like I mentioned before, Tranzor Z was Messenger Z, I believe, right, in original. So it's not unusual, right? And I think in the West we kind of come to accept it, and I think even those who are fans of the originals have come to accept it. And I think it's a matter of execution, right? And it's kind of the same story, even now when we look at how certain IPs, among them, Marvel, right? The Marvel MCU, even the DCU, right? Um, it's like it's about how do you respect the source material, right? It's like fine, you want to adapt it and do this, but respect the source material, respect the fans of the source material. And I think that's where the hate comes from, is the company itself and those who have been handling the IP really haven't respected the source material very much, nor have they respected the fans. Right? At least that's how the fans feel. That's the fan. That's how I feel. So, and I want to stop and say welcome to Jerry Jr. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Are you
Can you
there?
hear me? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Oh, can you hear
Uh,
me? Oh, I
he
should
says he's
be.
here. He sent me a message. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me
Because
now?
we can't hear you.
How about now? How about now?
Okay, you try. I guess you're getting your mic in order.
Can you hear me now?
All right. So while he gets that in order, I'll keep on rambling
Oh man.
like an old man. But yeah, Robotech, has a special place in my heart, and I think with a lot of fans. Oh, Afrocentric says you can hear us both, but I can't hear him, so I
Yeah,
don't
I
know
think
what's
it's
going
just
on. It's
you.
weird. Yeah, that's kind of odd. See, just give me a second. Sorry about the technical difficulties here. Um, yeah, settings look okay. Can can you hear me? Or are you
Yeah,
speaking?
I can hear you.
You think it's just me? Okay, I don't know what it is. So go ahead and keep talking, and I'll try and fix my mic.
Well, all I really wanted to say was just also good morning. But in regard, I'm assuming you got them started on Macross or Robotech.
I did.
But
I can hear you now for the record. Thanks for your patience, everyone. That's weird. I don't know what's going on with that.
no,
It's
it's okay. But
it's very strange.
so in regards to Robotech, so obviously I I didn't grow up with the original Robotech. I ended up watching it via VHS.
Right.
and
Very crappy VHS.
I guess I mean I didn't know any better. I
Yeah,
honestly, but
yeah. Over the time. By the time you guys were watching it, it was all kind of warped and warbly.
I mean it worked for me because I
Yeah,
watched the whole
yeah. You
thing.
guys watched it. Yeah, you did watch it though. So.
But I think the big issue with Robotech isn't necessarily that people dislike Macross or anything. I think people just don't like. I think most of the hate is towards Harmony Gold as opposed
Exactly.
to
Yeah. Yeah,
Robotech
and that's what I
itself.
was touching on, right? It's really more for the handling of the IP, not just Robotech, but also the exclusion of macro, like disrupting that their ability to distribute the
Yeah,
original
because
series.
I think if because I'm familiar with the way syndication worked back in the '80s. Like they had to
Hmm.
have like at least 100 episodes that the yada yada yada. But I think if they were to I think if they were to essentially dub each series as its own series, nobody would have an issue with it. I think it's the fact that they tried to take three separate, robot mecha and turn it into one series. It just didn't work. That would be like if you know, you took, you know, the I don't know. It's just I don't think anything has been like done. I don't think anything has been done like that before. And
Yeah, not to that level. I think.
yeah,
I think that's what the key was. It's one thing to take like Voltron and simply take the original footage, and you just rebrand it as Voltron when it was clearly called something else, right? And then you just sort of dub over everything. You know,
yeah,
that's like okay, that's kind of how it was done. But then with Robotech, they went far beyond just dubbing over pre-existing animation and just doing the localization, right?
yeah,
They literally gave us spun a whole new story and cut like reused footage, cut it up, spliced it here and there, like you know what I mean? Like it's
yeah.
and
If and
stretched it into
yeah,
this whole series that is almost unrelated to the original, right?
yeah,
Like they could have just took the original and just literally just dubbed it, you know,
yeah,
and that would have been that. And sure they could have still called it Robotech, but that's fine, right? Um, but it's like that's not what they did, right? It's a very different tone feel. It's more, if being the West, it focused more on action and war and so you get more scenes. Like that's why when you watch it you'll see more scenes kind of replicated a lot, like battle scenes and battle sequences, and
yeah.
because it was more action heavy. At least that was the tone they're trying to strike, right? It's more action oriented, which makes sense given it's a Western market. We do like action movies. We do like intense action, right? I think most just young men in general do. But I think part of it is just that mindset at the time that um, almost like a dumbing down, right? Like, oh, they're not going to get the high level storytelling. Let's just throw in some explosions and lasers, right? And
Yeah.
that's going to keep their attention. Um, and that's kind of to the detriment of the West that they constantly misunderstand anime and don't really get that. Yes, anime is something that is universally appealing, really, right? Not all anime, obviously, but just like all any other entertainment, it doesn't appeal to everyone. It has a
Well, it's
market,
not about it. It's all
right?
Is there's a anime for every audience,
Exactly, and that's
and
what I'm saying. They
instead
they
of
don't they don't get how to. I think they're starting to pick up on it, mainly because I think people from my generation entered into entertainment and syndication, things like that, and they kind of get it better, you know, and they're realizing, yeah, like Dragon Ball Z is awesome. Like let's adapt it here. We don't want to change anything. We just want to dub it, right?
yeah,
Let's bring over One Piece. We don't want to change. We just want to dub it, right? We just want to structure it so it fits our broadcasting timeline. Same thing with My Hero. Right? So those come over here and they're virtually unchanged, right? They're just dubbed and localized a bit, right? But they're not changed, like structurally changing the series, the animation and the tone or anything. They're giving us exactly, what was intended for the most part, right? Now there's some anime that have really crappy dubs, so that's
I mean,
another conversation.
yeah,
But that's also why a lot of anime fans, new and old, are willing to say, you know what, I'll just do subtitles, right? I'm willing to do because I'm cool with that because I want the story. I want to know what's happening, right? And I don't want to, although sometimes we get crappy subtitles too. So unfortunately, you know. But yeah, it's like they're starting to get it right, and so now we're getting anime and closer to its purest form, where it's like, yeah, this is the story. It's not being spliced up and you know uh, changed around, right? And that's kind of awesome. So I don't think you could do a Robotech uh, in this day and age now. I don't think that would be possible. You know,
I mean, you mean in the sense of trying to combine three separate shows into one show?
well, not only that, but it just wouldn't be well received at all.
Well,
No
yeah,
one, no
because
one would want
it's
it. No, they would go, no, this is garbage. Like
I mean, yeah, that's
it really
because it
would be.
was they weren't. I mean, you would have to like hide the fact that it's three different shows. That was the whole
Yeah,
point.
yeah, you would definitely have to. Although I think it would be, I mean, granted, with today's, software and editing technology, it can be far more seamless.
Sure, but there's no
Compared.
need for that anymore
Yeah,
because
it's not. That's kind of what I'm saying. It's not needed. You just go over there, look at the markets out there. Oh, here's something that looks interesting, and can I get it dubbed? Let's find out. Right? That's it.
yeah, yeah,
That's literally it. Say, let me secure the rights, right? Come up, strike a deal, and let's get it dubbed. Get it subbed, get it dubbed, and get it over here. In the hands of the fans, and that's it. Like you don't have to do much else. You don't have to even localization. I don't think is as necessary as it maybe they thought it used to be. Because there's a better awareness of like people who are especially who are not only to say hardcore anime fans but just people who are just you know they have a love for it, right? They appreciate it.
yeah,
They'll try to understand the culture that it's coming from, right? They'll try to understand Japanese culture in relation to the anime, right? So if they see something or hear a term or it's like, oh, what does that mean? They'll look it up and think, and a big part of that is driven by social media and the internet, where, oh, I can go here on my device or computer and look up what that is, or have
right,
someone on a YouTube channel explain this is what it means in this anime when they do this, right? And now you can go, oh, so now when you're watching the anime and subsequent animes that may feature something similar, now right?
right,
And so there's like that benefit as well, which didn't really exist in my time, right? Like if I watched, like I said, Robotech or Voltron, and I saw something, that was probably exclusive to Japanese culture, right? Or heard a term, it's like I wouldn't know, right? I would just not know. I would just go, okay, I guess that means this. Maybe I don't know,
right,
right? And
yeah,
that's that. And I wouldn't really know where to go to find out, right? Because those who were syndicating it didn't take the time to explain it, you know. So, but now it's like they say, it's a more global economy, right? So, and that's because of the internet. Information is far more accessible, and there are more people who are willing and able to share that information, right? So, and I think that's what's driving the growing popularity of manga and anime is the fact that it's far more accessible because now you can get digital. A lot of it is free. You can go to Webtoons and read a lot of anime. I mean, anime, a lot of manga for free,
yeah,
and other places as well. And it's just accessible. And because of that, you have a growing audience, while at the same time, you have a bit of sort of jadedness with traditional Western, comics and entertainment, right?
yeah,
So it's it's like the West is pushing us away, and you know the East, anime and manga is pulling us in at the same time. So, because I've never seen it this saturated before. Like even when I was growing up, like maybe like in my junior high or high school, I'll meet a couple of guys that were into manga and anime, in my school. And then anyone else, it would be outside of school somewhere, like at a con or something, like a local, or if I go to a local comic book shop and I meet somebody, we start talking, he knows all about, this anime or something, right? It's like, but it was so sparse, right, and random. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But now, all I got to do is log on to YouTube, you know, or Twitter, and or any other platform, and just type in anime. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Type in manga, and I get thousands and thousands of videos, posts, content, etc., articles about manga, about anime, about what it is, where it comes from, who are the most prolific writers, the history. It's all there for me, and I can immerse myself and get acclimated and jump right in, you know,
yeah,
and just find something that resonates. And that's the key. At the end of the day, you're just gonna find something that looks interesting. Oh, robots! I like robots. Let me watch this one, right? Or samurai. Oh yeah, I love samurai. Let me watch. Right? You know what I mean? Like that's the beauty of it compared to when I was coming up. Even in the '90s, we still had internet to some degree, but it just wasn't at this level of saturation like it is now, right? So, but yeah, I mean, there's a deal, getting back to Harmony Gold and Robotech. There's a deal on the table with Big West, I believe, right, to distribute Macross and other original IP. So we'll see how that goes. So they'll be distributing in the U.S. and that's nice. It's like kind of like about time, right? I think that's the mentality right now. But yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, a similar thing happened with one of my favorite shows growing up. It was called Mighty Orbots, and I used to watch that on Saturday mornings. I believe it's just one season. I'm not even sure if it's no, it is one season,
yeah. It's one season.
and it ran into legal issues because of the transformation sequence. Apparently, it was too similar to
Really?
yeah, yeah, to like Transformers or something. Like that was
Oh
the initial
goodness.
sort of accusation, and then there were other things too. I think with some of the designs, they were like, oh, it looks too close to Transformers and to other properties like Voltron, and so
Not really.
they ended up being litigated kind of out of existence, right? The production company that was doing it, like I think eventually they just gave up because it just got too expensive. It's just like Shazam, Captain Marvel, right? They got sued by who was it? I think it was DC or something.
Yeah,
Marvel, they sued them, and it was like what, Fawcett Comics, and and then later on, they ended up getting purchased by DC or whatever. So it's kind of it sucks. It really does, and because Shazam, or really Captain Marvel, his original name, was far more popular than Superman, way more popular. Like, and that was part of the problem and why they litigated that way, because he was more popular. Because kids resonated with Captain Marvel way more than Superman. Why? Because Captain Marvel was a kid.
yeah,
He was a kid that turned into a powerful adult, and it was magic. That's appealing, right? Like it hits all the triggers, right? You're like, yeah, like magic, super powered, and it's a kid that turns into this powerful adult. What kid doesn't want that? So yeah, way more popular, and so that's why it was kind of litigated out of existence. And then of course they just propped up Superman. And look, no hate against Superman. Superman's an awesome character. He's one of my favorites. So, but so is Captain Marvel.
yeah,
Yeah, so I love Captain Marvel. When I was a kid, I watched the TV shows. There was a cartoon. I watched it all. I loved it. So, and I did like it more than like Super Friends, for example. Right, and I love Super Friends, but I love Captain Marvel and the animated versions more, right? So yeah, it's just another one of those things. It's bureaucracy and red tape and greed gets in the way of you know actual entertainment and creativity. And innovation, right? Like the Mighty Orbots was really cool and it was innovative at the time because there was really nothing like that on TV. When you in relation to like giant robot anime, like all we had up to that point was basically Voltron, right? Then of course you got GoBots and Transformers, and that was awesome. But to have a giant robot show, and then the robots themselves were sentient,
Yeah.
right? They didn't have human pilots, right? Like that was amazing, right? Like just that premise alone. Um, and then they had sort of this alter ego. So when they weren't the Orbots or whatever, they were just these robots that were sentient. And then it was like this hyper futuristic world, this hyper futuristic Earth. And it was just bustling with activity and commerce. And I mean, just the whole tone and everything of it was amazing. And I was there for it. I loved it. Um, like I said, it was one of my favorite shows. And it's sad that it just disappeared because of some ridiculous rights dispute, about a perceived similarity. You know, that's why I like copyright. Sometimes it's great to protect your property, right? It's nothing inherently wrong with that, but at the same time, a lot of these companies they abuse it.
Well, yeah, they take advantage of it in order to stop
Yeah,
competition.
yeah, exactly, to stifle competition. And the thing is, from the vantage point of the fans, there is no competition. Like I'm not choosing Mighty Orbots over Transformers. I'm gonna entertain. I'm gonna like watch both. I'm gonna indulge in both.
Yeah.
You understand? In my imagination, they're gonna exist in the same world. You know what I mean? And I don't care. Like I don't. I'm gonna beg my parents to buy both toys. Right? I'm gonna have both apparel. I'm gonna. You understand? I'm gonna support both IPs. It does. I'm not looking at it going, well, Transformers is too similar to Orbot, so I'm gonna choose Orbot.
Right.
Nobody does that. Literally, no one does that. The only time you do that is
If
with
it's
like
bad,
laundry detergent
honestly.
or a pair of shoes. I don't. Like no one does that with entertainment.
Well, here's the thing:
You
people
know?
only do it if the competition is bad. Like,
Right. Only exactly. Only if it's bad. Right. So no one's gonna like say I'm not gonna watch Spider-Man No Way Home because Madam Web exists.
yeah,
They're
yeah,
not gonna do that. They're gonna watch both if both are good. If they don't watch Madam Web because it was awful, it's
yeah.
because it's awful, not because it's similar to Spider-Man. Right. Not because there's brand confusion. Right.
Well, a better example would be, well, Macross and Gundam.
Yeah,
Like
exactly. Like
I
no one's gonna not watch Gundam because Robotech or Macross exists.
no, I'm
They-
gonna watch
They're gonna
both.
watch both. They're
Yeah.
gonna enjoy both. That's and I have. That's the whole point. It's like
I got it, or Most Piata. I watched Most Piata, ended up watching Most Piata, even though I was like, well, it just looks like a ripoff of Macross. And I watched it. I was like, oh, this is actually really good.
yeah, it's a whole different story. So
Yeah.
if it's good, if it's entertaining, you're still going to patronize it, right? And that's what I really hate about entertainment executives or whatever, and the legalese and the nonsense like that is instead of looking at their own property and saying, okay, how can we make this the best it can possibly be for the market that demands it? Instead, they go, okay, it's out there. We got this fan base, and we got to protect it by, you know, uh, gatekeeping everyone else, right? So we're going to have, property rights infringement, copyright infringement, like lawsuit. We're going to send letters just because your hero has read in the same pattern as our hero. Like it's so stupid, and it's
Yeah.
frustrating. And you miss out. We all miss out on great things like the Orbots, right? Like Shazam, right? We didn't really get a proper Captain Marvel for years after the original Saturday morning stuff, right? Like, and that was thanks to Bruce Timm and his team with Justice League Unlimited, right?
Yeah,
We got a proper Captain Marvel. He was awesome. He was great. I love that. I mean, it was so funny that him and Superman had a fight
yeah,
because that was definitely representative of what happened in real life with the court cases. Is they duked it out, and at the end, Superman won. Right? Like
yeah,
that's what happened. Superman, he just wore him out, right? And it's so funny, but it's like, yeah, that's literally it's a snapshot of what happened in real life, and it's so sad, right? And it's not the best character won. They were both great characters.
yeah,
Period. Like they're great characters. When it comes to entertainment, it's like the only competition is between streaming apps and channels, I guess, right? It's There's no competition among the audience. Like
right.
you're not competing to steal audience members away from something else. You're simply saying, how do I capture their attention? That's it. That's how it works. So you're not stealing, Spider-Man fans so they could be Superman fans. That's idiotic. Most of the time, the majority of those Spider-Man fans are Superman fans, like
Yeah,
me. Right?
yeah,
I'm not gonna only go see Spider-Man movies because I hate like that's not how it works. You know what I mean? And it's like it's so frustrating because that's the mentality of all these bureaucrats in the entertainment industry is they think it's this they have to protect their market or their IP. It's like, yeah, protect it to so that someone doesn't steal it. Like they just take Superman and slap an S on their character and call him Superman. It's like, yeah, I get that. That's stealing, right? But that's not what's happening with these properties, right? With Orbots and others. That's not what's even in Robotech, right? That's not what was happening. And that's the irony of it all too, is to create something by taking a pre-existing property, making it into a new property, then bogarting the market for the stolen property you have.
yeah,
I mean, you understand that the hack job property you have, and not against, like I said, I love Robotech, but it's a hack job. You hack together three different animes and made it into one. Then you bogarted the actual originals from even entering the market, so, so the fans can get the best of both. Right? It's crazy, man. Like the audacity of that at all. It's the crazy. It's just crazy. It's like, wow, these guys, man. But speaking of competition, moving on. Uh,
well,
Sonic 3,
yeah.
and I'm sorry, what were you gonna say?
Well, I was just gonna say, if there's anybody out there who actually grew up with Robotech and Macross, let us know your thoughts on the issue.
Yeah, put in the comments and let us know. We read the comments, so even after the stream, feel free to share your comments. We'd love to hear from you and find out like what's your thoughts. And yeah, were you a fan of Robotech? Even if you weren't, like my age, I'm in my formative years, and
Oh my god, really?
I'm over 50, and so are you my age and you enjoyed it in its original airing, or did you find it discover it later on in the '90s or the early aughts? Right? Let us know. It'd be interesting. And what's your take on it? What's your perspective? Especially those who are younger who discovered it later. Like, how did you view it? I know, like, my youngest son, he didn't really like it. He thought it was kind of boring. So
Yeah, that's.
and I was like, yeah, I understand that because, and he said it was dated. That's the term he used. He's like, it kind of looks dated,
I mean,
and I was like,
it's
yeah, it does.
it's dated in a lot of ways, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So it's kind of funny. Like that was his perspective.
like
He's like,
I like Robotech and I like Macross, but I was rewatching like the original Macross,
yeah,
and there's a scene just to show you how dated it is. There's a scene right. They get the ship gets lost in space, and Rick and Minmay. I'm gonna call him Rick because I don't remember
yeah,
his
right.
Japanese name. I'm not
I
gonna
don't
lie.
either. Yeah,
But they get lost in space, and they're in like the basement of the ship or whatever, and they're hungry, and so Rick has the bright idea of, well, I'll just tether myself to this wire out in space and catch the frozen fish because like the whole like parts of the island got teleported into space. So there's just a frozen fish wandering in space,
Yeah, that's right. Right. Yeah.
and so they're like, "Oh, okay. Let me take my pilot suit,
Yeah, and wrap
right,
like scarf around
and
it.
wrap
Yeah.
around so the
Yeah.
air doesn't seep out. Let me
Yeah.
just tie
That,
my
and
sleeve."
that's how space works, right?
Yeah, and it's like that's not how space works. And he
Yeah, I
just
think you know what, I think the guys that did the last Fast and Furious watched Robotech. They saw that episode.
I would not
They were
doubt it.
like, "We can do that.
I would not doubt it.
We got duct tape. You don't even have a scarf. We got duct tape.
The
It's much
magic school bus was more
yeah,
scientifically accurate
right.
than Robotech.
But
But
yeah,
you,
yeah,
yeah,
it's
but you
crazy.
don't watch
Crazy.
Macross for the scientific accuracy. You watch it
Of
because
course, listen,
you want to watch.
Robotech was, in my opinion, was the cartoon version of Star Wars: A New Hope and Return of the Jedi. Like it was in that vein. It's not science fact. You know, it's not
Well, it's space fantasy. It's not.
hardcore
Yeah,
science fiction. It's
it's
space
space
opera.
fantasy.
Yeah, space opera. Right. That's what they say about Star Wars. Right,
Yeah,
and
but
that's what
you can
Robotech
have
is.
a space opera that's more rooted in opera. Just means it's dramatic. Like I say,
I know, but
space
that's what I
fantasy.
mean. It's the emphasis is not on the science aspects. The emphasis is on the drama, and that's Star Wars, and that's because Star Wars is the hero's journey, and
I
that's
mean, that's
Robo.
true.
You know, but yeah, you're right. Space, science fantasy. That's fine. I agree with that. I'm just saying, that's generally how they sort of define and delineate Star Wars from like Star Trek, right? And it's like, yeah, I mean, it's space opera. And that's what Robotech was the animation equivalent of that, right?
Yeah.
Luke,
Well, the
Rick
reason I
Hunter
say
was our Luke
space,
Skywalker,
yeah,
So
the reason I say space fantasy as opposed to science fiction is because, like, Star Trek can be operatic at times, like it can be dramatic, but a lot of the concepts in Star Trek, they usually try to be, they're usually rooted in a scientific idea that's just taken to like the extreme or something. Like with Star Wars, it's just wizards in space. Like that's why I say it's or space monks, whatever, however you want to address them.
yeah,
It's they just don't call them wizards; they call them Jedi, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
no, I agree with you. Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
saying, like it's like the difference between like Star Wars is about as science fiction as He-Man, right? It's just a giant buff guy fighting giant robots and monsters, right? And
yeah,
a magic sword. And that's not a bad thing. It's cool. Like it's Conan the Barbarian on another planet, and that's fine. I wouldn't call it science fiction because it's like they're not taking a scientific idea and then making it like fantastical. It's
yeah.
just,
I mean, that's what
it's just
storytelling's about.
yeah.
Storytelling, even in science fiction, isn't always about the science. It's about the fiction. It's about the theme that you're addressing.
I mean that's true too. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's what I mean. But so science fiction is just sort of the covering, right? The casing you're putting this hero's tale in, right? It could have easily, just like with Star Wars, it could easily have been set in, the Roman Empire or something, right? Or something similar to that, right? Or some type of Hellenistic period or
hmm
Renaissance. Like it could have been any type of style. It didn't have to be science fiction per se,
yeah,
right? And it would still work. Just like you said, it's space wizards, it's wizards. So it could easily be magic, all magic and fantasy and sorcery and right versus aliens and spaceships, right? I mean,
yeah,
and so that's science fiction is just a vehicle to tell stories, right? Fantasy is a vehicle to tell stories, right? They're great vehicles, they really are, but that's what they are, and I'm here for it. So yeah, it's like, and that's what Robotech was. It was our animated Star Wars, so to speak, right?
yeah.
And yeah, and it has that nostalgia. Like I listen, and I know there's been talks over the years of doing some type of live action version. And given the current climate, current day, I'm leery. I used to be excited about that idea of that way back when, but now I'm like, yeah, just leave it alone. At best, and I think I
Yeah.
was talking to you about this when we were first discussing this stuff.
Yeah.
And I mentioned that, I think a better approach would be similar to what they're doing with One Piece, where they're redoing the animation from the earlier, season one onward, and
Yeah.
they're cleaning it up, making it better, more compelling, visually beautiful aesthetics, right? I think that's what should happen with Robotech is just reanimate it and give us something more polished and,
Yeah.
what I mean, something more
That's
visually
fair.
striking, and that would be awesome. Don't even it doesn't that, no need to change the story. You can redub it though. You can redo the voice acting. Even recast. I wouldn't mind that. If you have to, especially if the original voice actors aren't available. Redo. Like redo it all and just make it even better. And do it as traditional 2D. Don't. I mean, I don't really want to see a 3D unless you're really going to go all out with it. Um,
Yeah.
I,
Don't be lazy about it.
yeah, I'd rather not see 3D. I'd rather see 2D and go all out. Like I would love to see like a studio like the Line Studio in London. Like I love the work they do. Um, Man, I would love to see them like get their hands on Robotech and reanimate it. It would look amazing. Like because those guys are some of the best I've seen in a long time. So, but that's my little nerd fantasy for Robotech,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, moving on to Sonic 3. And speaking of, competing IPs, right? We were talking about how a lot of people are, you know, looking at Disney with the side eye uh, because they're claiming the number one movie in the world for Mufasa, the Lion King origin story.
All
And
right.
there's been a
Hold
lot of
on.
trolling happening, mainly on X, but I'm sure other places as well. And it's pretty funny, because it's like no, Sonic 3 is kind of kicking your butt. But I have to say, looking at the numbers here, I pulled up um, Box Office Mojo. Um, I like Box Office Mojo. I think they're pretty reliable. I haven't had any issues in the past. I haven't heard about any issues, so I tend to go to them for box office information, like just kind of basic bullet point stuff. Um, and right now, we're looking at Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and its opening was 60 million, which is amazing, and that's domestic. And now, to date, domestic is 99 million. Very impressive. International is only a 1.8 million. So, but I imagine that's going to continue to tick upwards as time goes. So total, they're at 101 million, right? But Mufasa, okay,
Wait, Dad. Before you show
uh,
it, can you
what, what?
show him the meme? Oh, actually, no. Hold on a second.
No, yeah, you show it to him. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. Did you? Show him
Yeah,
real quick.
this was messed up. Yeah, this is the one that stood
Oh,
out.
you saw this already?
Yeah, yeah, this was like, yo, this savage man, and his
What?
shadow too. I'm like, that's perfect. Oh man. Oh, see, this is a little different because the one I saw had Shadow's face on
Oh
screen.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
it
yeah.
was like straight up Shadow. It was hilarious.
So ironic.
So it's like, yeah, I think that's going to be kind of what happens in the box office. Um, Eventually is, but currently, look, um, opening weekend, yeah, awful, right? A million, 1.2 in Colombia, which they separated Colombia for some reason. I'm not sure why. If you know why, let us know. Domestic though, 76 million. Not. It's like if you just looking at domestic numbers, Sonic is kicking their butt, like
Oh yeah.
big time.
Well, I said
But
this last time.
worldwide though, uh, they're over 200 million. So Sonic is about half that right now. So I'm hoping that will change. I think it will. My prediction is that Sonic is going to eventually outpace Mufasa
Yeah, it will.
globally in global numbers and,
Yeah.
and total numbers. I just can't imagine. Mufasa beating out Sonic. At
Well,
best, I think they'll be pretty close, like neck and neck for
I
global numbers.
maybe I
Domestic
doubt it.
though, I don't think Mufasa is going to catch up
I
domestically.
think you're
Uh,
underestimating how big Sonic the Hedgehog
no, I'm not. That's what I'm
is.
saying. I'm actually giving them the props. That's what I'm saying. Don't underestimate Lion King as a property. It is very, very big.
I'm not saying. Here's the thing: Lion
Listen, when they
King.
redid the movie, right? They redid the so-called live action, air quotes, right? That hit $1 billion. So it's a solid brand. The problem with Mufasa is, well, no one asked for it. So
That's my thing,
you know what I
though.
mean?
Yeah,
I mean, no one's asking for it, and it's for Disney. I think part of what drove it for Disney was the fact that Moana 2 did pretty well. And so they're looking at, oh, we gotta pump out another IP that's, you know what I mean, another installment of our best IPs, and Lion King is one of their best IPs. So I don't necessarily blame him for doing it. I do think it's tone deaf. I don't think it should exist, but it does, and it's doing okay globally. So globally, it's doing way better. They're making it, and probably because of China, I'm guessing. Um, they tend to do great numbers in China. Sonic the Hedgehog, though, um, is probably going to mop the floor with them eventually. I really believe that. I think at like worst case for Sonic 3 is going to be they pretty much are neck and neck with Mufasa. That's the worst it's going to be. I don't, you know what I mean. But best case, yeah, they're going to hit 300 million. I can't see them not, because they're going to get China and they're going to get the rest of the world. Like Sonic is a huge property.
yeah.
Like it is a global brand. It's not just in the West. It's not obscure. It's widely popular. And yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. And to boot, we saw the movie, and it's really good.
It's awesome. Yeah.
It's a really good movie.
Because here's my thing,
Mufasa,
and I
I
and I
haven't seen, so we'll see. Maybe I'll go see it
and
this
I
week.
said this last time. It's like it's the difference. You're seeing the difference between when a studio actually respects the fans
Yes,
and respects the source material versus the opposite of that.
right. Basically, yeah,
You know, and which
yeah.
is what Disney has been doing for a while. And it's like even with the Lion King, it's like it doesn't make like, and I don't know if a lot of people know this, but even like it's I don't think it's a huge deal because they don't really talk about it in the movie. But I
Mhm.
think the Mufasa movie even goes against like the established lore of Mufasa in general.
I mean, it probably does. I wouldn't be surprised
And
if
I don't think that's a
it's
big
definitely going to be retcon because it wasn't really addressed to begin
yeah.
with the original
It
line.
wasn't something that mattered.
Right,
So that's not
exactly. It
what
didn't
the
matter.
Lion King isn't about Mufasa. It's
Yeah,
about Simba.
it's about Simba. So it's like, why aren't they doing a Simba movie? Right? They did Lion King
Well, they
too.
did it. It's called the Lion
Yeah.
King.
And actually, I've heard it's not bad, and I've seen bits of it. It's okay.
Oh,
I
which
don't
one?
the Lion King too. It's
Oh,
okay.
it's all right. The music
Yeah,
is awesome,
yeah. The
but
music was good,
that's
but
about it.
it's not. It doesn't top the first one.
No,
It's not like Kung Fu Panda
it's
where
remembered for being the
it gets.
best of the straight to video
Yeah, yeah, and it was straight to
movies.
video. That's right.
Yeah,
It's not like Kung Fu Panda where up to three it got progressively better, like,
no,
and then four it went off a cliff, right?
yeah,
Unfortunately. So, but with Lion King, I honestly feel like properties like Lion King should not be sequels and prequels. It should just be what it is. The Lion King should have just stayed what it was. A one-off epic story about coming of age of a young person becoming king. A hero's journey type of deal, and that's it. There shouldn't be a Lion King 2. There shouldn't be any other like
Lion King 1.5.
yeah one like none of that should exist. To me, that cheapens the IP. It really does. Versus you had a beautiful stage production of it. That looked awesome. You know what I mean. You got the music, of course, and everything. It's like that's all you're doing is you're just building on that and the lore. Maybe at best maybe you do some books that continue the story in some way, and then you see how the books do. And if the books do well, then you can start saying, okay, maybe we can do a movie or a TV show, right?
I
But
think
they didn't really do that, right? They just started cranking out sequels and stuff. And now we got a prequel, and like I said, no one's asked for it. No one cares about it. I mean, it's Lion King, so they're building on that nostalgia, right? And so people are going to go see it. That's why, excuse me, globally they're at 200 million. But I think that's going to peter out. Um, and just looking at their ratings on Rotten Tomatoes, the audience score is pretty good, 88%. That's out of 2,500 though, so we'll see, you know, kind of how it goes as that ticks upwards. With Sonic, it's 96% audience score or popcorn meter now, whatever. But that's out of 5,000 ratings, so that's very impressive, right? So twice the number have rated it, and it's at 96%. So the question is, will that occur with Mufasa? Will that 88 go up to 90 something percent once it hits 5,000? Will it even hit 5,000? Right? Um, I don't think. I think as it goes upwards, that percentage will probably decrease. Right? So we'll see. But that's what I think. I don't. I just don't see it breaking beyond that 200 million. And you know, I mean, it could. It could hit a billion. I'll be surprised though, to be perfectly honest, because I'm just like this. I just don't feel it. Like this doesn't feel like even the remake of the original, right? It's like at least that still felt like it was going to be something epic because it's like, well, it's different. It's a different medium, etc. It's 3D and all that. Not to mention a new generation is going to go see it, as well as the existing fans, right? They're going to go see it and rewatch it. So it's more like a re-release, right? Here, I don't know. I think it'll be kind of a Lion King 2 type of deal. So that's my take. I'm no pro. That's my opinion. Like it or not. But
Listen, I'll say this: I heard there were definitely more kids at the theater I went to see Sonic 3 than Mufasa's Lion King. That's a fact because most of the theater was kids and teenagers or
yes,
whatever
yeah,
yelling over Shadow the Hedgehog.
yeah. I think with Mufasa,
All
it's
right,
probably mostly adults going to see it who
it's
are already
adults
fans.
taking their little kids. Yeah, that's
Right, they're
fine. There's
bringing
nothing
them.
wrong with that.
Right.
I think at the end of the day, you know, it's a win for parents, right? Because they get
It is.
more kids
That's
moving.
exactly right. It's a win-win because regardless of how either do, you have a choice. You have two big budget family movies in theaters for the holidays while your kids are off. Right?
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you right now, most of them took them to see Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
Yeah. Well, I would argue they probably did both.
I'm sure
Do,
they did both. I'm
do a
saying there were
break.
probably
Yeah.
more parents taking their kids to see Sonic.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, I would imagine,
I'm not
Sonic
saying
would
kids
definitely
don't
be.
like the Lion King.
No, that's what I'm saying.
I'm
I think, most likely,
what, what I am
like
saying is that
if I had more than one kid, especially like, small kid, like if you guys are little still, I would take you to see both of them. We'll go see Sonic for sure, but I'd be like, hey, let's check out Lion King, right? Like you'll probably be like, okay, right, because you're kids and
I mean,
it's
yeah.
animated and it's animals and kids like animals, So most likely they're seeing both. But yeah, I agree. More people will go see Sonic.
'Cause, I mean,
I
let's be
think
real.
overall,
You're going to see a lot more kids wearing Sonic backpacks
yeah,
and Sonic
yeah,
than
and not
you
only
know.
that, but I think Mufasa will peter out because more, as people see it, they'll go, yeah, it was okay. And so fewer people will go see it because they'll go, well, they said, I'll wait for it to go on streaming then. I got
Yeah,
Disney Plus. I'll just wait for it. You understand? And so that's not the case for Sonic, right? No one's going to say, I'm going to wait for it to go on streaming. They're going to go watch it because
yeah,
they're going to be fans. Or even if you're not a fan, it just looks incredibly interesting. And the word of mouth is telling you it's good. The word of mouth is telling you, hey, it's worth seeing. It's really good. It's fun. It's exciting. It's great, right?
Yeah.
So that's what's going to make the difference, and why I believe Sonic will pull ahead globally is because the word of mouth is going to be more positive for Sonic than it is for Mufasa.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, I think so. I just don't see it. So, but I might check it out just out of curiosity to see if it's good. Maybe it's good, but from the trailer, I don't see it. I didn't get a sense that it's a good story, or that it's anything compelling, or you know what I mean, like worth checking out. Um, my initial impression of it was kind of like, yeah, okay, more content. Like you know what I mean, like it's content. It's not. Um, it's not something that's like a labor of love, or you know what I mean. Like it's
Yeah. There's no substance to it out of it being a movie to watch.
yeah, right. It just doesn't feel like it's anything significantly, I don't know, like special, or it just doesn't. I just don't see it. You know, and not only that, but it's an origin story, and they chose rather. I think if they had animated it like traditional animation, I think they would have had a winner. If they had went that route and did it in the same level of quality or better than the original Lion King, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
they had the music, maybe brought in Elton John again and all that stuff, right? I think they would give Sonic a run for its money, because then you'll have that visual appeal, that aesthetic, right? Competing against Sonic's aesthetic, and
Maybe. I don't know.
this doesn't look appealing. To me, if I were a kid, I would see this and go, okay, I guess it's kind of cool. Like there's animals and they're kind of talking and stuff, but it looks so real. There's nothing that's visually striking,
Yeah.
right? It just looks real, right? But realism isn't visually striking, right? You know what I mean? Like it can be if you're doing it like a certain genre or something, right? But here it's like, well, there's no real genre here. It's just animals in the jungle, and they're running around. They happen to talk. Like
Yeah. If
there's nothing
anything, it
about
just
it
looks
that.
creepy.
Well, I wouldn't say creepy. It just looks kind of vanilla. You understand? Versus if it were the Lion King, um, I, I think it would be like more visually striking and appealing, and would cause people to say, "Oh, maybe I'll go check that out." Right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I don't know. That's my impression. It's like yeah, I don't see, yeah, I don't see it, like like why would anyone bother excuse me, bother taking the time to see something that's animated, right? But is it really visually, like, look at this, look at that, like that looks amazing. Like if I'm a kid and I'm seeing this, I'm going, that looks awesome,
Yeah.
right? The colors and everything, the texture. There's just something about 2D animation, right? Traditional animation, even if it's digital, right? If it has the 2D aesthetic, it's just visually appealing and visually striking, right? The faces are animated, the eyes, right? The exaggeration in the animation, right? The squash and stretch and all that good stuff, right? It's all there, and it's there for a reason, right? Like all that stuff exists in animation because great artists before us, decades ago, figured out what works,
Yeah.
right? They figured out the sort of the magic formula, and this is the product of that. And so it resonates with us on so many levels, right? And especially like as a young person, as a kid, you're going, man, this looks beautiful, right? So I want to see that. This is what I want to see. You understand?
Yeah.
I want to see this. I don't want to see uh some live action 3D.
Yeah, quote unquote.
You know, I don't. I don't want to see it. It doesn't appeal to me. Right? I don't want to see this. I mean, you understand? It's like okay, like
Like nobody's gonna buy
I want
toys
to see it. This is
of
boring.
realistic Timon and Pumbaa.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's there's nothing about it. There's no stylization. There's no squash and stretch.
Like, how do you sell toys of this? It's just lions.
Right. It's just animals running around that happen to talk. And look, there's a market for that, right? There's a lot of animal lovers. There's a lot of kids that love animals. And, there's Animal Planet exists for a reason, right? Like, so yeah, there's that appeal. How big is that appeal? Is it big enough? So far, they're doing okay globally, right? So
But
far,
like I said, I
domestically,
think a
not so
big part
much.
of that is because people like the original Lion King.
Right, but just understanding domestically, not so much, right? Because I think people are kind of tired of Disney, for one. I mean, they didn't even break 100 million. You understand? I mean, Sonic has breached 100 million. They're at 99 so far, as based on Mojo, right? And I would imagine once the numbers come in, they're going to be clearing 100 million easy. Domestically, I'm just talking about domestically, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of like I don't know. Like I said, this isn't to me. It's just not as appealing. And I love 3D. I love realistic photorealism, 3D and all this stuff. I'm into like game engine technology, like Unreal Engine. I love that stuff. I'm a kind
Right,
of a
but
novice
the
at this,
context
but
matters. Like seeing a
yeah,
hyper realistic version of,
exactly.
say, like if you're like, for example, a Final Fantasy fan, seeing
Yes,
a hyper realistic version of Midgar and Cloud
yes,
Strife and them
yes,
invading,
exactly.
that looks awesome.
Yeah, like Kingsglaive, right? Like that looked awesome visually. That was beautiful, right? I mean, I love that. The story was
Yeah,
okay,
this
but
is. Wait a
visually
minute.
it was striking.
Wait a minute. Wait, go back. Go back.
What?
Are you serious right now?
Wait.
Oh my god, they're not beating the allegations. Oh my god, they're white. Dad, they're white. They're fighting white lions. They're fighting white lions. It's Kimberly. We were
I'm not
talking
even.
about.
I'm not even gonna go there.
We were literally just talking about art reflecting reality, right? We got
Yeah,
Superman versus Cat. Then we've got Simba fighting Kimba the White
Timber
Lion.
the White Line. Yeah. Wow.
Oh my gosh, they're not even like
And for
subtle
those
about it.
for the uninitiated, it's been shown that Disney kind of lifted Kimber the White Line, which was I think it was an anime from like the '60s, right?
Yeah, it was. It
About
was.
a lion named Kimba who will be king.
It was about. It was the same studio who did
Pretty.
Astro Boy.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah, that's
now
right.
to be fair, the both stories have different themes. But
Yeah,
if you look
they're
at
not identical,
yeah,
but there's a
but
lot of
but if you
similarities.
look at the original concept art for the Lion King, they literally had a white. One of the stills is literally a white lion.
So yeah, that's
Uh,
kind of interesting. Um,
It's like it's like
yeah,
it's
that's a whole other yeah. Because
yeah.
so yeah, is that some kind of subliminal messaging, or are the
I don't know. I
animators
would
telling us
after the
something here?
Chip and Dale movie, I wouldn't put it past them because you
Because
know what they did in the Chip and Dale movie,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. I don't.
Okay, yeah,
I don't. I didn't want to. Yeah,
yeah. It's awful.
yeah, it is. But yeah, it's maybe the animators are trying to tip us off a little bit. Um,
I don't know. It's too much of a coincidence.
yeah, that's weird. But yeah, I don't see it. So they haven't broke 100 million domestically. Um, globally, yeah, they're doing great. Um, and also, yeah, you know what? This, well, actually, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, the number, yeah. But yeah, it's I don't know. Um, we'll see. We'll see what happens. And that's what I'm realizing with I'm looking at the information here. See, I think Disney's kind of doctoring things here, or at least IMDb, because
Why do you say that?
I'm looking at Mufasa. They have Colombia. Like I said, Colombia is separated out for some reason. Not sure why. If anybody knows, please tell us. But it's 1.2 million. Domestic, which is here, is 76 million, which is abysmal. Then it says worldwide, 209 million. It doesn't say international. So they don't give us the international numbers. But here for Sonic, I'm sorry, I'm not even sharing. I apologize. Um, for Sonic,
Oh.
you see, we have domestic, and that, like I said, they're breaching 100 million. I think they'll hit that. Then we have international. It's at 1.8 million, which I'm kind of wondering why is it at one. I think that's going to go up significantly. So we'll see. In time. Um, and then worldwide, of course, is 101 million, right? So why is it? And like once again, if you guys know out there, let me know because I don't know. But why is it that we get domestic but we don't get international, but we get worldwide?
Well, is it worldwide international,
No,
or is
worldwide
that just total?
total. Exactly.
I see.
There is no international number.
Oh, because they know it's bad. That's the only really
That's
explanation.
what I'm wondering. Like, why is that? Because here we got an international number, at least for Sonic.
'Cause why else would
And not only that, but I'm kind of wondering, are they underreporting this number? Because I'm kind of like, yeah, that should be a lot higher than that. I think, in my opinion, especially if it did release on the 20th, although it probably didn't. Maybe it released a few days later. So, and that's after 8 days, 1 week, and same with Mufasa. It's about 9 days, uh, 1 week. So, yeah, that's kind of weird. So, can anybody you know inform us on that? Like, why is that? Why are they leaving out international numbers and just giving us worldwide? Because I'm like, well, this doesn't add up, right?
no?
So where is this extra, hundred something $1 million coming from, right? And then Sonic, this adds up. That's fine. And I'm wondering why it's so low. I'm thinking they're underreporting right now. They haven't brought in all the numbers. But it's like, but yeah, we got an international numbers, which is the usual fare, right? You usually have the domestic, and then you have an international number. Then they do worldwide, as in total worldwide, right? So yeah, that's weird. Disney's been accused of doctoring stuff before with other, properties. So um, I don't know what's going on. That's kind of weird. It could just be a Mojo thing. It's IMDb, and they're just a bunch of like a handful of people behind the scenes who are doing this stuff. So
Right.
they're not like a big company, even though they do have a pretty robust site. And then yeah, they have Box Office Mojo and all that, but they're not like huge. So maybe they're just trying to keep up, and they're not updating the data as quickly as they need to be. So I'll give them the
Well,
benefit.
you said they have all the data for Sonic, right? Both movies came out on the
Well,
same
so far,
day.
yeah. So we'll see. Yeah, but that's kind of weird that they don't have an international number.
Yeah, but like I said, both movies came out on the same day, so they should be able to keep track of both, right?
I would imagine so, and that's what I'm saying. But then why isn't there an international number separated out for Mufasa? That's weird. So once again, you know, some side eye to Disney. Like what you doing, Disney? What's going on over there? You're not being forthright
No.
with the numbers here. Then you're making these claims of being number one, right? So yeah, that's kind of interesting and suspicious. Yes. So we'll see. uh, it's but yeah, and I admit, I'm rooting for both because I like the idea that there's two uh, family-friendly movies out there that people can enjoy. So go see both of them if you want. I mean, hopefully, like I said, hopefully Mufasa is good. I haven't seen it, but I'm willing to check it out. But I just, like I said, I just don't get the. It doesn't appeal to me really. So but I'm sure younger audiences will like it, kids. Um,
Maybe.
maybe, but I think Sonic is still going to stand out quite a bit more. You know, um, so yeah. that'll be yeah. I kind of can't wait to see how it turns out. Give it another maybe another week or so, right? To see more numbers.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, so that's fascinating. But yeah, that's you got anything else you want to add?
Um, just go see Sonic 3 again. Like I said, listen, I like A Lion King. It's one of my favorite movies. But
Yeah, same
like
here. It is. It's
it's
one of my
it's
favorites.
it's good. It's good by itself. I got my fill of Lion King spin-off nonsense. I don't think I need any more of it. Like if I want to show like if I want to take a kid and if I want to show a kid like some actually entertaining like Lion King spin-off stuff, I'll probably show him the Lion King 1.5 before I show him Mufasa.
Yeah, yeah,
That one, even though it was unnecessary, even when I was a kid, I knew it was completely unnecessary.
yeah. I mean,
It was still a fun movie. I
fair
don't
enough. Yeah.
feeling that because it's to know because people like Timon and Pumbaa, but like
Right, right, and
Mufasa,
it's
it's
understandable.
like
Yeah,
making a movie about Mufasa is like making a movie about Bambi's mom. It's like nobody wants that. Like, would you watch a movie about Bambi's mom?
no,
Okay, yeah. So it's like why make a movie about Mufasa?
because it's called cash grab. That's
I
all.
I I'm just saying like
That's it. It's just a cash grab, and that's what I'm saying. That there's a lack of creativity and innovation. You know, it just cash grab. How can we milk this even more? Oh, let's do an origin story, right? Let's do a movie about these side characters, right? It's nonsensical, right? So, but it tends to work, right? Because they're earning money and they're probably selling merch. Although, like I said, with Mufasa, I would imagine they spent well over 200 million, 250, and that's probably above board. Below board, it's probably another 100 million or so, right? So they're not making money off this right now. They're losing money.
yeah.
Sonic, they're definitely gonna make money off this. Um, yeah, they're you know, and I doubt they. I mean, I don't know. You know what the budget is for Sonic? I don't know.
The budget for Sonic 3. Well, doesn't it say on that same site?
No, it doesn't.
Really? Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, that's the one area they tend to fall short is
The
budget.
budget for Sonic 3 was 122 million.
Yeah, so they're making their money back. They're definitely going to make their money back. Um, that's just a matter of another couple of weeks in the box office. And now that they're worldwide, they're global. Yeah, they're going to make that back easy. Um, Mufasa, I don't see it.
Apparently, the film made 6.5 million on Thursday night previews, and then
Yeah,
on Friday it grossed 25.7 million.
that Sonic.
Yeah, which is only a little less than Sonic 2, which made 26 million. Oh, history repeats itself. And then, but the film went on to gross 60.1 million during the 3-day opening weekend, topping the box office and achieving the second highest weekend debut for a PG film in
Hmm.
December, behind 2005's The Chronicle of Narnia.
Yeah, yeah. So it's gonna be interesting. But
And
yeah,
that's just in the U.S. and North America.
right. That's just domestic numbers, right? That's what I'm saying. So yeah, it'll be interesting. So tell us what you think. Are you rooting for one movie over the other, or do you just don't care? You know, you'll watch either one, or do you prefer one over the other? Let us know. Tell us in the comments. Um, yeah, what do you think? Are you a big Sonic fan at all? Um, and what did you think of the movie? Like we love the movie, and we definitely want to see it again.
Yeah, I'll say this: I'm not rooting against Mufasa or whatever, but I will say it was dumb of them to release Sonic 3
On the
at
yeah,
the same
yeah,
day.
yeah. I think, uh, and I don't know if they knew it at the time when they first announced it about Sonic coming out. Who I don't know who did it first, right? But I agree, they probably shouldn't have. But that's the point. They knew it would be a holiday movie. That it would be something to watch over the holidays, and that does make sense to release it during Christmas. Maybe they could have waited a day or a week, right? But still, yeah, um, probably not a good idea. So we'll see how it goes. I'm optimistic for Sonic. I think the movie's going to be great,
Oh yeah, there's no doubt.
and yeah, I'll be surprised if it doesn't surpass its, at least double its budget. Double its earnings. You know, so yeah, and it's nice to see. I mean, because it's so well done. It really is, um, and that's always nice to see when you know a studio takes the time to tell a good story and actually treat the source material with a modicum of respect.
Yeah,
That's always nice because that's been what's frustrated so many for so long. Um, you know, others, those who are, I guess, don't like the criticism, accuse people who, don't engage and don't react well to their favorite IPs being destroyed, of being racist or something, or sexist or misogynistic and all these other nonsensical terms. And it's like, no, you're tone deaf. Like, you don't understand the IP or you don't care, right? And either way, you're giving us subpar storytelling and inferior treatment, right? And that's the problem. That's always been a problem, right?
yeah,
Um, and what we're saying is, hey, and we saw that in 4K, when before right before Sonic One was released, right? When they dropped that trailer, and we had this weird, creepy looking Sonic, you know, and people were like, "What the hell is happening here?" Right? And Paramount got trolled, and rightfully so. You know, and a lot of people were mad about that. They were like, "Oh, that's these toxic fans." Well, it's like it's not toxic, right?
it's just
Criticism in
bad.
and of itself is not toxic, right?
Yeah,
Like Sonic is an imaginary character, so no one's like being racist to Sonic or sexist or you understand?
yeah,
It's a video game character that they completely botched, right? And those who are fans said, "No, this is not it. This ain't it, Chief." Right?
yeah.
And just because some of them were, in your opinion, rude about it, sure, I'm sure some comments were rude, or you can argue went too far or too gruff or whatever, right?
You should have did it right the
At the,
first time.
at the end of
That
the
would have
day,
avoided.
that's not the point, right?
Yeah,
The point is that you are getting it wrong. We're not going to patronize this movie. You're not going to get our money. And guess what happened, right? They came back and they said, "You know what, guys? We hear you. We're going to fix it." Which I have to admit, in all my years, I have never seen that before, ever, where a studio said, "We're going to go back and fix it." And they did.
yeah,
They went back and they fixed it. And they gave us another trailer, and it was great. And Sonic looked great. And it was like, yo, they actually did that, right?
yeah,
So I'm thankful to the fans, to the hardcore fans that put it out there and that were vocal about it. I appreciate them. Hats off to you. Thank you for saying something, because that's what was needed, right? That's what, and it just proved that these studios aren't listening. They
yeah,
really are out of touch.
yeah. And I think it's important to specify like it's not the actual animator's fault. but rather
No,
whoever was in
yeah,
charge of the art direction.
yeah, exactly. We're not blaming the VFX artists or the
Yeah,
animators. It's the people at the top that are giving their input and they're approving and greenlighting this stuff, and probably telling them to do this stuff. Like, oh yeah, make them have these kind of creepy teeth. They're not saying that, but that's what ends up happening. Give them these weird teeth, right? Like, yeah, do that. That looks great, right? And it's like you don't know what you're talking about. You're clueless. Get out of the kitchen,
well, I
right?
don't. I mean, I don't. I don't know
So
if it's like corporate people because when
no,
I
trust me, it is. It's
what here's the thing. It's just whether it is or not because I remember reading like the interview. I remember reading like the interviews of uh like the people who came up with the Sonic design, and it's always the same thing. It's like we want to put our own spin on Sonic or whatever, and it's like nobody wants you to put your own. We want
yeah. But
Sonic
that's what I'm
to
saying.
look
I don't
like
even
the
think it's
game.
that. I honestly believe there's some clueless idiot who is in the upper echelon, an executive, a producer, and they're informing this. And then the artist who may or may not be very familiar with the IP, right? You know what I mean? They're just
Yeah.
doing their job and they're taking in the instructions and they're saying, yeah, do this, do that. Or they're saying, or they have no real direction, so they are being told, yeah, just do what you think makes sense. Do you understand?
I get
Either
that.
way, there's no one there. Like a good example is what they call what a lore the lore expert, right? I saw that. That's the first time I heard that term was with the
Uh-huh.
Riververse, right? Eric July, right? Respect to him because I thought that's fascinating. Like he hired someone to be the lore expert, and what do they do? Well, they're gonna make sure that there's consistency across the universe they're creating, right? That the characters are presented properly, and right, that means their uniforms have to be consistent, and their certain characteristics, right, have to be there, have to be present, and that's going to translate over into animation, right, and any other iteration of those characters, of their original characters, right, and they
Yeah.
didn't have that with Sonic. They didn't have someone there who understood the IP, the lore, who maybe someone who was a part of the comics or like the original video games or
Well,
something.
it's funny you mentioned that. That is one of the jobs that recently appeared. Somebody sent me a job offer for a job listing on LinkedIn from Sega of America, and they were hiring a lore expert for Sonic the Hedgehog. And I applied. I applied. I sent
Yeah,
in a
you
letter
better.
and everything. But it was just funny because it's like they're starting to get it now. You
Right.
know what
And
I'm
that's
saying?
what I'm saying. Like that, and that's what it was. Like you don't have someone who really knows or understands, right?
Yeah.
And the people that are doing the work, they don't know, right? They might even been like looking online and going, "Well, that looks like that's a good. Maybe we should do that." And then someone above them is going, "No, don't worry about that. Do this." You understand?
Yeah.
And then when you get the backlash, then they go, "Oh, maybe we should have did that. What we were seeing online, right? Maybe we should have copied
Yeah.
that fan made version over there, right?" And so they got a clue, and that's the beauty, right? Because of the pushback, they got a clue and they did it right,
Yeah.
right? And now we got three. We got three Sonic movies, and all three of them are awesome. Like they are,
Yeah.
like hands down. You can nitpick certain things always, right? But generally, we got another Kung Fu Panda, right? Like this almost perfect trilogy. Because I ignore Panda 4 because it's garbage. So
Yeah. Yeah.
or How to Train Your Dragon, same thing, right?
Yeah. I
Just
would say How to Train Your Dragon.
yeah, just near perfect trilogy. We have it with Sonic now, and we're going to get more, right? It's already been confirmed, I believe, right? They're going to do a 4. That's going to be amazing, right?
Yeah. We'll see.
So I'm here for it. It's great. It's fun to be a fan of an IP that's actually being treated with kid gloves and respect, right?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing, and I'm here for it. So Paramount, keep it up. Don't drop the ball. Keep listening to the fans. Hire some of these fans. Seriously, hire some of these indie artists out there that are making these indie animated stuff with Sonic and Mario, and you know what I mean. These independent games and like hire these guys as consultants and like it's just comics. That's what I would do if I had a studio and I had an existing IP, right? And I know it's pretty well known, very popular, right? Very well received. That's the first thing I would do is seek out like gamers who are like, you know, total gamers for that particular brand. I would seek out artists who love doing fan art for this particular character. I would seek out guys that are like doing passion projects,
Well,
right? I
the
would
great
seek them
thing.
out as at least as consultants, if not, you know, bring them into the production proper
Well,
way.
the great thing is that Sega already has a pretty good history of that. Like, I remember back a big reason why uh, the Sonic Archie comics were so popular, or were able to last so long, was because they hired Ken Penders, and Ken
Yeah,
Penders is
yeah.
one of the people responsible for not Ken Penders. The guy who replaced Ken Penders after he left was Ian
Oh,
Flynn. That was his name.
oh, okay.
And Ian Flynn, before he was a Sonic writer, he was a he wrote like Sonic fan fiction and stuff like that. So
Okay,
it's,
yeah,
yeah,
awesome.
so
Yeah,
it's like
that makes perfect sense.
yeah,
I mean,
um,
and it's not just about the fact he wrote it, but he wrote fan fiction that was popular that people
yeah,
enjoyed, and
and
that's
then
what I'm saying. It's not just a blanket. Oh, he's going to hire just random fan. It's like
no,
there's
no,
guys
he
out
wrote
there that are doing
quality
them. Like
stuff.
if I
Yeah,
was doing a Transformers, although Transformers one is awesome, I would hire guys that are making independent Transformer content that is going viral, and a lot of it is right. You know what I mean? Like I would hire those guys. Like that's to me, that's just common sense. But common sense isn't so common, particularly in Hollywood, apparently. So,
yeah,
but like I said, Paramount, you nailed it. Props to you. Keep it going. Keep going. Don't stop. Um, don't get stupid. You know, uh, just keep doing what you've been doing. Rinse and repeat.
yeah. And
And
I'll say
here for
this, and even though I didn't like the TV show, I would say that this is probably some of the best characterization of the Sonic side characters that we've had in literally years. Knuckles and Tails.
it. Yeah,
This is probably like the coolest versions of Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles
yeah.
in like any Sonic media.
Yeah.
Like Tails in the game, Tails in Sonic 3 alone was way cooler than Tails in the video games. Because like in the video games, he's just like he's the tech dude, but he also doesn't
Mhm.
do anything.
Yeah.
You don't ever get to play as him until Sonic Frontiers.
Yeah.
Same thing with Knuckles. In the games, Knuckles is usually treated like an idiot, like he's just stupid. And with Knuckles in the movie and even the TV show, like he's a much more respectable character. Like
Yeah.
he's still naive and stuff like that, and like
Right. But
cool headed.
they struck a nice balance in the movie
Yeah,
where he's still very clever and sharp, but he still has that naivete. They kind of makes him endearing as a character, right? So
yeah,
yeah, like I said, they're nailing it. So, but yeah, very happy with Sonic 3. So looking forward to the next one. And yeah, let us know what you think. So that's it. That's all I have. You have anything else?
uh, go watch Sonic 3.
Go watch Sonic 3. Check it out and report back. Let us know. Right?
Yeah,
If you watched it and we can talk about it the next time. So, but thanks for joining us today. Thanks for listening, and we appreciate your time and attention. And thank you for your support. Go check out our website, supergalacticfantastic.com. Join our email list and receive a free digital comic. It's a sneak peek of one of our stories about Alphatron, and check it out. And when you do, at the end, when you finish it, there'll be some information to give us a rating and let us know what you think. We appreciate your feedback because we want to give you the best possible story as well, right? That's our goal, is to give you what you want, like the kind of stories you want to see. And I believe the kind of stories we all want to see, right? Fun, engaging, intelligent stories that are exciting, right? So that's our goal, and we hope that you'll join us in this journey as we build this universe. So check it out, supergalacticfantastic.com. Get a free digital comic, and hope you enjoy it. Thanks for joining us, and make it a wonderful day.
We'll see you around.